Eric Pare. This guy's work is amazing. This is a combination of long exposure photography, where he does a bunch of light painting around his model with flash to stop the action of the model, and then capturing that on like 100 cameras simultaneously. This is all photography. It's not CGI, and it looks beautiful. This is the guy that convinced me to buy 12 cameras. I like in-camera photography a lot. I like the process, I like the results. I like to see what we're able to create just using light with as little digital manipulation as possible. And over the last few years, I've noticed an increased interest toward in-camera photography and in-camera effects from others as well. And I think this process is especially cool now that we're in the age of artificial intelligence overload. Here are some of my in-camera surreal photographs, and I've been interested in this since 2016. That's when I made this photograph with the 3D chalk cube. By the way, I have this whole stack of posters that I need to get rid of, so I'm going to give one of these away. The details are at the end of this video. In my last video, I talked about how photography is not a screenshot of reality and how we can create images of anything we can imagine in camera. And in this video, I'm going to share different photographers who create photographs that break away from pure realism using in-camera effects. This will not be a deep dive on anybody's work. I'm going to mispronounce names, and this is not a comprehensive list of all the great photographers out there who create amazing work in camera, but I am going to introduce you to many photographers whose work I admire over the next 10 minutes. I also want to say, this is not anti-Photoshop, this is not anti-AI, this is not anti-anything. It is a video about artists with different creative processes that reflect my own interests in photography, and I hope that they inspire you as well. Shall we begin? This is a beautiful multiple exposure photograph by Nick Fancher. He swaps the colored gel on the strobe and moves the model closer to the camera between each exposure. Here's another in-camera photograph. Nick is very generous with sharing his techniques or the steps involved in creating his photos. These next two shots are images of the model projected onto the model's face. Here are some beautiful photographs experimenting with substances like honey and glycerin to see how they might warp the light, applying them to glass and shooting through them. I want to do this myself because I think these are gorgeous. So if you ever see these types of images from me, you know where I got my inspiration. This is Geoff Robertson. If I recall correctly, he uses a machine he built himself to move the camera around while his camera's shutter remains open, and during the course of that long exposure, different lights expose different fragments of his model. I don't think I can explain it as well as he does. So here's his video.
So this is the stroboscopic graffiti machine. It's a contraption that I built from scratch, designed from scratch, and what it allows me to do is during a long exposure photograph, I'm able to move the camera both horizontally as well as vertically while simultaneously triggering these different projector flashes. And these projector flashes are able to isolate a subject's face with the flash, and so the end result is this kind of collage of different stamped flashes on the photograph that has a really cool, almost cubistic effect.
There's this one effect that he does. It's his use of selective defocusing. There are distinct parts of the portrait that are intentionally out of focus that I find really beautiful. It's quite easy in theory. You just defocus the lens before triggering that specific flash. But this is something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I've tried it before, and I didn't get the results I wanted. There seems to be a little trick to this, so I really admire these. This is Oscar. He does a lot of ICM photography. ICM stands for intentional camera movement, intentionally moving the camera as the exposure occurs, and he combines that with multiple exposures. Very artful photographer. Beautiful images. This is Alexey Titarenko, a very well-known photographer. He created a very well-known series of long exposure photographs of moving crowds. Phenomenal artist. These are some of my favorite photographs. This is a photograph. These are studio photographs by Erin O'Keefe. Her work is amazing. Her work is phenomenal. What you're looking at are straight photographs of elaborate scenes that she has set up and painted in her studio. A lot of forced perspective, a lot of anamorphic illusion, a lot of sculptural elements, amazing interactions of color. Low-key, I think she's a genius. You might call her a painter. She calls herself a photographer. I call her an artist. This is the work of Georges Rousse. He paints onto his scenes anamorphic images, or images that can only be resolved from a single perspective, and in his case that is the perspective of his camera. These are fascinating to look at. This is the work of John Chervinsky. He was an engineer. He ran a particle accelerator at Harvard, a self-taught photographer. I don't know if he's especially well known, but his work had a strong influence on me. His studio photography combined his love for the arts and physics. There's this really interesting series he did where he would photograph plant matter, send the photograph off to a painting mill, I believe in China. Yeah, they have these painting factories, and an anonymous painter would paint his photograph and then ship it back to him, and he would reinsert that painting back into the original setup and then rephotograph the scene. I find his work very interesting. This is Tarek. He's essentially a modern master. Very gritty, very surreal, very dark. Multiple exposures on film, incredible precision. Very impressive, very inspiring. He shows his negatives, they blow me away, and that's what I can say about most of his work. His work just blows me away. This is Linus, another good photographer. I just found his work recently. Double exposures on film, solid use of color, nice compositions. Definitely someone to keep your eye on. This mini moon double exposure concept is awesome and really well executed. This is a Vietnamese photographer, Chiron Duong. I hope I didn't butcher that name. Phenomenally beautiful motion photography. Just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I don't know what to say, it's so radiant. I guess that his work is a combination of continuous lighting with flash lighting and colored gels placed in front of the lights. So much light, so much movement, so much color, and it's so beautiful. I love the action, the movement, the energy. I feel like so much photography can be so static, and this is so animated. I really enjoy Zander Olsen's work. Again, these are like anamorphic illusions and forced perspective. I can't imagine how long it takes to set these up, but I really enjoy his compositions. They are sort of like these optical illusions. They mess with my sense of scale and depth, and I enjoy looking at them. In a way, he's creating new spaces. There is Sasha Elage, who plays a lot with color and flash photography. I am a big fan of the pink ponies. Man, I love his textures. You know, it almost looks like photographic pointillism. This is Michael Kenna. These are minimalist photographs of landscapes of Hokkaido, Japan. I'm including these because they're beautiful. They look like graphite drawings to me. They're poetic, and they're probably, if I can recall correctly, some of the first photographs that I ever saw that made me realize that photography could be an expressive art form. I saw these in high school. I was looking for reference images for some drawings I wanted to make, and after seeing these, I kind of lost interest in drawing and began photographing. Don't ask me why, they just really resonated with me. Here's a fun fact. I had an assignment in college to reach out to 3 professional photographers that I admired via email to ask them questions. Michael Kenna was one of the photographers that I wanted to interview, and he responded to my email. He wrote, "Hi John, I think you mailed this to the wrong email address." That's because I addressed the email to Mr. Hido, as in Todd Hido, the other photographer on my list. And I didn't get another response from either of them, and I'm still embarrassed to this day. Speaking of which, here's Todd Hido, another early inspiration of mine. I think I saw his work in like 2009. Very well known for his suburban night scenes. Another very early high school inspiration, circa 2009. Lightmark is a body of work by 2 artists, Sensi Gopal and Jens Warnick. I have no idea if these artists are still active today. I can't find websites for either of them, and the Lightmark website has not been updated in a very long time. But these are like some of the first artistic light paintings that I was ever exposed to, so they're kind of burned into my memory. I like to revisit them from time to time because they remind me of some of my favorite musicians that I was listening to around that time, like Bonobo and Amon Tobin. They absolutely inspired me. Light painting is awesome, and Susan Sims-Hillbrand has been light painting since 1977. Of course, she's a master at this. Fantastic work. I guess I could mention Andy Goldsworthy. He makes a lot of impermanent sculpture earthworks. They're temporal in nature, they're meant to be washed away, and he captures them with photographs. His process involves using site-specific materials. He'll use colored leaves and different colored rocks and colored soil as pigments to create his gradients. If it's winter, he'll sculpt with ice. His work depends on the lands that he's working with. He was another very early inspiration to me. Sure, he's taking photographs of his sculpture, but his photographs are aesthetic. They're very intentional compositionally. They feel like more than just documents. And in fact, these photographs are the only thing that's left of the work, which has a kind of meta beauty to it. I think if you're staging a scene and creating an environment or an object for the very purpose of creating a photograph, that can be considered part of the process of the photography. I'm not saying that's what Andy is doing here. I think his intentions for creating these extends far beyond just capturing a photograph, but I also see these photographs as artworks themselves. This is Barrett Baker, focused entirely on abstract photography, the photographic equivalent of abstract painting. I would actually like to see these as large prints. Nick Yang is a fashion photographer. I feel like there are so many fashion photographers whose photography is more high art than most art photographers. I see so many insane photographs coming out of the fashion industry. What is high art anyway? This is Laurence Demaison. I doubt I pronounced that correctly. She has a massive library of work, absolutely astonishing. She creates all of her work in camera, creates silver gelatin prints in her darkroom with no alteration of the image after shooting. Laurence is clearly a master. She is a self-taught photographer who began her journey in 1990, and this is honestly the first time I've ever seen her work. Here are two photographs by Daniel Tierney that I just found, captured on medium format film. Cosmodernism is an account on Instagram full of vibrant macro abstract photographs made with ferroliquid and dyes. Osamu Yokonami has these beautiful painterly long exposures of a group of 7 people interacting and moving in nature. Noemie constructs illusionistic stages within the landscape, and she also constructs illusionistic landscapes in her studio, which reminds me of the artist that produces clouds indoors and photographs them. They're not like big cotton sculptures. He mists the air and then uses a fog machine and then uses lighting to create these clouds that last for a few seconds. Look at this series of photographs using tape on a mirror. It's so simple and it's brilliant. This beautiful infrared photography almost looks like illustrations, coming from a very talented photographer in Japan. This concludes my presentation of photographers who create photographs that diverge away from realism, but are also created or captured in camera. And I hope their work inspires you, like it inspires me. Obviously, some of the photographers I shared were fairly representational, such as the poetic minimalist work of Michael Kenna. I included photographers like that because, well, I felt like it, but also because I don't believe that you need all these crazy practical and in-camera effects to create stunning photographs that look like they come from another dimension or another planet or just pull you to a different realm. If you guys think I missed an important photographer, type them in the comments below so that I can make another video about beautiful, unrealistic photography captured in camera. Free poster giveaway. Tell me your favorite in-camera effect and also include the word poster. Random winner will be chosen and announced next Monday.